What's up, fight fans? Welcome back to Sportskeeda MMA News. Francis Ngannou wants the UFC to make his dream of boxing Tyson Fury come true. Conor McGregor offered a handsome reward to a good Samaritan for helping him catch an intruder. Henry Cejudo gives his own terms for a UFC return. Charles do Bronx sounds off on Justin Gaethje ahead of their title fight. And Big Ben Rothwell signs with Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship. All that and more on today's edition of Sportskeeda MMA News. If you see any of your favorite fighters mentioned, make sure to blast that like button. Let's get started. The baddest man on the planet, the reigning UFC heavyweight champ Francis Ngannou, is continuing to build momentum for a potential super hybrid fight with Tyson Fury. Ngannou spoke with Ariel Helwani about his desire to be under the UFC banner and how he could use a newfound partnership to enhance the fight with Tyson Fury. He also listed off some great MMA possibilities. Here's what Ngannou had to say.
Well, I think the UFC is a great promotion and I want to keep fighting. Tyson Fury is not my last fight. I want to keep fighting. After Tyson Fury, there's still a lot of fight out there. There's the John Jones, there's Stipe, a trilogy with Stipe. There's still a big fight that I can do in the UFC. And I would really like that to happen. I would really like us to get to a common point, Yes, I can do a Tyson Fury on my own, but what next, I would like to keep fighting. I would like for us to come to a agreement.
After Helwani confirmed that Ngannou would come back to MMA to defend his belt regardless of how the Fury situation pans out, Ngannou agreed and said this. Yeah, because I believe that they can make it. Doesn't matter how big it could be, the UFC can make it bigger. Ngannou is adamant about a major payday and is confident on how he could take down the Gypsy King. I 100% believe I can knock him out. Fury is coming off what seems to be his last fight in pro boxing. After knocking out Dillian Whyte, his perfect 32-0-1 career cemented his status as one of the best boxers of our generation, and was highlighted by stunning knockouts over Deontay Wilder and Tom Schwartz, and a dominant performance over Vladimir Klitschko. Then Ngannou mentioned his dinner with the UFC brass as an update to ugly negotiations that made major headlines earlier this year. He said this.
Just after we spoke, we had a meeting with a dinner with the UFC, and that wasn't about a contract situation. It was just like to clear the air, because it is clear that at this point, we have to clear the air. It was just to trying to clean things out, speak things out, and we kind of like speak. And I was speaking about my frustration, but also I had to go back home because it's not a thing that's supposed to be solved in one night or over one dinner or two dinners. So I think it might take some time.
The 17-3 Ngannou took the belt from Stipe Miocic with a devastating KO and defended it handedly against Ciryl Gane earlier this year. A torn MCL and damaged ACL, which required surgery, will possibly sideline him until 2023. With Ngannou sidelined, what is the next fight to make at the top of the UFC's heavyweight division? Leave a comment down below. The former double champ Conor McGregor decided to put a bounty on some poor soul's head recently. According to a now deleted Instagram video uploaded by McGregor, an intruder was caught on security cam trespassing onto one of his properties. McGregor wrote this. Hey guys, I have a $50K reward, cash in all 100 crisp untouched notes. Not a wrinkle on them, the no wrinkle greenbacks. I call them yum-yums. For whoever tells us who this little deli chicken head is. The walk, run, and scrawny build all very distinctive. Nothing will be said, but done. Reach out to who can reach me. Look forward to doing business. Eventually, a good Samaritan caught the deli chicken head, and McGregor thanked them in a now deleted Instagram story. Wow, that was so quick. Thank you so much, Good Samaritan. Then McGregor said this in a celebratory post that again was deleted. What's 50 grand to a like me? Can you please remind me? Probably nothing if your net worth sits around $200 million. The 22-6 McGregor has been sidelined since UFC 264 after sustaining a gruesome compound fracture against Dustin Poirier. Now McGregor plans to return soon, and according to him, it's against the pound-for-pound king Kamaru Usman. How many times will we see Conor McGregor fight until he actually retires from MMA? The king of cringe and former two-weight champ Henry Cejudo is inching closer and closer out of retirement. Cejudo recently gave an update to fans about his coming out of retirement process, and the only way he's willing to fight again in the UFC. On a recent episode of the Triple C and Schmo Show, here's what Cejudo had to say.
I am back, but I'm not back until I actually at least sign for a fight or actually fight the fight. So, you know, we still gotta, you know, let Ali do his job. I like to reconcile with Dana and see what we can do, man. There's a lot of fun fights for me. They know that I come out and scrap.
The Schmo then asked Cejudo if he wants to fight for a title, and Cejudo replied with,
"That's the only way that I'm gonna fight. I'm not gonna fight any other way, you know."
And on Twitter, Cejudo called out the man that possesses the belt he once held. "I'm coming back for these tomato cans, and I'm going to right the wrong. Aljo Lame, you the #1 contender." Cejudo formerly held the flyweight and bantamweight belts. He has notable wins over Demetrius Johnson, and most recently a TKO over former bantamweight king Dominic Cruz. He retired from MMA with a 16-2 record, but hopes to add to that in his return. Perhaps a chance at tripleweight gold against Alexander Volkanovski. Who do you see being bantamweight champion when Cejudo finally returns? The UFC's reigning lightweight champion sounded off on Justin Gaethje, and even let fans in on some of the feelings he used to deal with before fights. In an interview with Olar da Luta, Oliveira said this: "I had a lot of, it wasn't fear but apprehension, you know, of defeat and of me losing. 4 or 5 years ago, I felt this a lot. It was like, I thought a lot. Not during the fight, but during the fight week I was in the UFC. Like I can't lose. Like if I lose, this or that will happen and stuff. But I learned, we don't even have to think about it." It's interesting to note that Oliveira revealed this, because Justin Gaethje and a few other MMA fighters have accused him of having no heart, or giving up in fights. A notable example being when Oliveira tapped to Paul Felder's vicious elbows. Justin Gaethje is tied for #1 contender with Dustin Poirier, and is coming off a possible Fight of the Year victory over Michael Chandler at UFC 268. Gaethje became interim champ after demolishing Tony Ferguson, and subsequently lost to then-champ Khabib Nurmagomedov later that year. But here's what Oliveira had to say about Gaethje's recent comments. "Justin Gaethje is coming up with a lot of I think that's what he's trying to do, to win the mind game, but that makes no difference to me. I learned that we have 2 ears to listen, but we also have to let it out. If he thinks he can beat me in a standing fight, he can try to knock me out. If he thinks he's a better wrestler than me, he can take me down too." Oliveira knocked out Michael Chandler to become the lightweight champion, and submitted Dustin Poirier later that year in his first title defense. He will face Justin Gaethje at UFC 274, one of the hardest hitting lightweights we've ever seen. Do you think Justin Gaethje will get into Oliveira's head? Is he already there? While you're still here, subscribe to Sportskeeda MMA and hit that bell. And last but not least, UFC veteran Ben Rothwell has broken his silence regarding his unprecedented release from the UFC last month. Rothwell was scheduled to face UFC veteran Alexander Gustafsson in May, but then the UFC announced that they parted ways with Rothwell. In an interview with Ariel Helwani, here's what Rothwell had to say about the situation.
The truth is, the fight got brought to us in January, and there was like an announcement, stuff was going on, and me and my management sat back and we were like, well, it's the last fight on our deal. What comes next? What are we going to do? So we went to the UFC and said, are we going to sign something? Are we going to get something done ahead of time for this fight? Because in my mind, I've been kind of seeing the landscape, what's going on, and my timing, where I'm at in the picture. They've let go of some of the big heavyweights and stuff, and I'm like, even if I go in and perform well, knocked out Gustafsson in the first round, looked great, what's going to happen next? And they came back and said, hey, let's see what happens after this fight. So I didn't like that, and we asked for a release in February. I've had a good 13 years of being a professional fighter, making my living off of fighting, getting to do something that I love, and they granted it to us, and then I got to hit the market.
Now Rothwell has landed a sweet deal with Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship, claiming himself that he is now a 6-figure fighter. Despite a topsy-turvy UFC ending, Rothwell's 39-14 MMA career is made even more impressive by finishes over former heavyweight champ Josh Barnett and former Strikeforce and Dream champion Alistair Overeem. He's also battled 3 more former heavyweight champions like Cain Velasquez, Junior Dos Santos, and Andrei Arlovsky twice. Do you see Ben Rothwell having a career resurgence in bare knuckle boxing? That about does it for Sportskeeda MMA news. Here are some of the best comments from today. Ngannou will never touch Fury. Why does Henry Cejudo laugh when he runs? Because the grass tickles his Colby Covington is a chicken. Nose Burns would drop him like Usman did. That's why he's been ducking him for 2 years. He'd call the cops before the match began. If you liked this video, please like, comment, and share. Your comments could be featured in the next Sportskeeda MMA news video. We always deliver daily content, so make sure you subscribe and hit that bell. For updates, quotes, and exclusive interviews from all your favorite fighters, follow Sportskeeda MMA on Twitter and Instagram. Thanks for tuning in.